Hello, subscribers, viewers. This is Hank McGurk with part 4 of my gumshoe economic observations that is jargon free. This section is called Gouged Out. This comes from an experience I had at the Forge when I was working at the Forge. There's a brilliant guy that worked there. His last name was Hume, actually a descendant from the philosopher. And just an absolute brilliant guy. Okay. He went to a very expensive art school, top-notch art school. He's an art historian that knows enough about of so many different varieties of subjects, but just such a depth of knowledge in art history and art technique. Just, it really, really impresses me. And sometimes I can be a little bit critical. I can be a hard guy to impress. And the guy's brilliant. Okay? Well, he's younger than I am by a couple of years. I had 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. In the 20s at least. And he's got this degree, but his student debt, again, well over $200,000. So he leaves. He's got this great degree, a lot of knowledge, a very valuable member to any community, and the Forge can't afford to pay him what he's worth, because they too have to come into compliance with a lot of nonsense government regulation, number one. Number two, you can't, when you're in an economic pinch, people don't have money for fine art. There are a few people that do. And that's why they can command price for being the best that there ever was. This Forge is world class. That I had the very, very fortunate opportunity to come in and work with these guys, because they are absolutely world class, and they use not only Egyptian old school methods, but they also incorporate new high tech materials. And like I say, world class. I mean, we've got they've got things that are going to the Smithsonian and things of that nature. Well, that's not really the point. The point is, the Forge can't afford to pay him. They've got an extremely high rent to pay to operate the building. They've got all the costs of operating the equipment. They're trying to provide good benefits for their employees. They consistently have to keep production up to a certain rate and I don't know if anybody's ever worked in a Forge in Florida. That's very hard work. It'll break your back. It really will. So he's renting a shitty little property in a crappy part of town because he can't afford it anymore and still make his student debt payments. So we've essentially disincentivized anyone to seek high levels of education, because what's the point? You go out and you've studied and worked and interned and you're laboring in a very difficult and intensive job producing world-class product, and you're getting paid about as much as somebody that's managing a Taco Bell. And there's nothing, I have nothing against that. That's not an easy job either. They're getting screwed too. But because of the rent prices, because of the student debt, because of the government regulations that keep the Forge from being able to operate in a cost-effective way, and because the economic squeeze that prevents people from being able to pursue art. Shows you another reason why the economy is failing. That's the end. Section 4, gouge out. Section 5, I'm going to film it in a different location because I'm talked out for right now. I'll have no solution. That's the next segment, and that has to do with programmers, open source software, modding communities. I may even touch a little bit on YouTube. Catch you guys later. It's been Hank.